The start of the new semester is a great time to think about why companies might be public and why they might be private. Josh, where do you want to begin?
Well, David, I would see that rocket behind you, and I just started thinking, can you tell me a little bit about SpaceX? What are their earnings, revenues, how big they are, how did they do last year?
I love this rocket because this is the most public information we have about SpaceX. We don't have their earnings. We don't know their financials. All we know is that from time to time things blow up. But on the flip side, Elon Musk has another company where we do have great public information, right?
That's right. So we know one of his other companies is Tesla, and with Tesla, we actually have quite a bit of information. They recently released earnings, and so we know that, for example, in their most recent earnings announcement, they had earnings per share of $1.19. They had revenues of about 24 billion. They're a company that is over 600 billion in size. We also know last year wasn't a great year. Their value lost 23%. This was for the calendar year of 2020, 2022. And then we also know exactly how much of Tesla Elon Musk owns. He owns 13.4%, and that number is as of December 22. And so
Why is it a good thing then that Tesla is public?
so we know Tesla's a public company because we know all this information because they're a public company. And so what we can look at is, so why is it good to be public? Like you just asked, it's perfect. So there's, I think, to me, and there's lots of reasons to go public, but to me, there's four really important ones. One is it provides access to capital markets. So they're able to raise debt and equity easier than if you're a private company. It provides liquidity. So if you and I were on bought shares of Tesla, we know we're going to be able to sell shares of Tesla quite easily. It's the stock price is there every day. We can look it up. There's robust trading volume. And so there's a lot of liquidity. The owners of the company themselves can diversify. So if you and I wanted to go create our own company, tomorrow, and it's a private company, if we're very successful, at some point we might say we want to sell some of this. We want to, get some money and diversify our investments. So being a public company makes that also easier. It also allows us to design compensation contracts in a way that's now tied to a public stock price. And so that can be very beneficial for, employee stock option plans, C-suite employees. And so we get all these pros of being public. There's two other things that I think are sort of important, but I know we're going to sort of go back and forth on these two a little bit. But it does provide monitoring by the market. So when you're making decisions, your stock price reacts, and there's market participants who are paying close attention to what you're doing, and managers can gain additional information based on how the stock price and what it's doing. So these are the pros, although my last two pros, I think, aren't quite as, there's some negatives to those as well. Why might companies not want to be public?
Well, so one really big disadvantage of being public is that it gives all of your competitors information about what's happening. Like you said, we don't know what's happening inside SpaceX, but we know what's happening inside Amazon. We saw that their ad sales just jumped 19%. We saw that Ford, one of Tesla's competitors, just lost $2 billion on bad bets. We saw that Meta lost nearly $14 billion on virtual reality stuff. And all of this information doesn't have to be public. It's only public because the companies are public. When the company is private, all of this gets hidden and we don't see any of it. And to your point about knowing how much Elon Musk was paid, this is also a downside of being a public company, is that all of that information about how much the employees are paid is there in perpetuity. So I pulled this up this morning. This is how much Bill Gates owned in Microsoft back in 1998, 25 years ago. And the information is still out there. And it's not just Bill Gates. It's all of these folks. And over the years, I've had friends and colleagues who were listed in the public disclosures. In fact, we've even had some of our LMU students exposed in the public disclosures because they're the children of the executives and their shareholdings have to get disclosed too. And so there are those downsides. But in addition, because Bill Gates was running a public company, he had to spend part of his attention just dealing with the fact that they were public and not focusing on growing Microsoft the business. And so it can distract the manager. It's also expensive. They have to file these and they have to meet all kinds of government regulations. And so there's cost involved with that too, and more government intervention into their business. So there are huge costs in being public as well.
That's great. Yeah. And so I think what we're going to do is, we want to talk a little bit more about this next week. So we'll talk a little bit more about, the costs of being public, and dig into the decision-making process, and sort of how markets react and to decisions that are made. And we'll use Meta as a great example over the last year and a half or so of some of these costs of, that you were just talking about, and dig deeper into that.
Yeah, I'll look forward to getting to that soon.